Today we're getting Daniel's first impression of a Kawai GL-20. Stick around. Hi, this is Ted Barsley with Alamo Piano Galleries.
And my name is Daniel Voeller.
And today we're going to get his first impression of a Kawai GL-20 piano. For those of you that have watched before, Daniel has come in and checked out the SK6, 7, the SK-EX, a lot of upright pianos, even digitals. And we're getting not just a classical pianist, but also someone who's cognizant about teaching students. And we're going to get his opinion and review of this Kawai GL-20. Also wanted to mention you can find out more information about this piano and others in the same model line as the GL. There's also GX available on our AlamoPianoGalleries.com website. You can shop and get details. We do have a sale coming up. There will be sale prices. That's why we're trying to get people excited about very affordable grand pianos of high quality. Daniel, I'm going to be quiet. I want to get your overall first impression. You sit down and play it. Would you like to have had this piano when you were a kid?
Definitely. Yeah, I started.
Okay, how about now?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd still like it. Yeah. Put it in my room.
Well, I know you have a great piano at home.
Yeah.
You've told me about that. Okay, first off, you've played the SK-EX, you've demoed all the SKs. I want you to take that line of piano and compare it to this.
Yeah, well, as we were talking about before shooting, this piano is a little bit slower than like the SKs would be, but all Kawais seem to be like very consistent across the keyboard, and even like the SKs and like the GLs all seem to be like very consistent, and I really appreciate that about Kawais.
What do you think about the overall tone of a Kawai piano? Because I have something I want to mention about Kawais.
Yeah, so I play on a Yamaha C5 at home.
Okay.
It's a bit bigger than this one. How big is this one? Like 5'3"?
This is about 5'3" and a half.
5'3", okay.
5'4", somewhere around there.
Yeah, so I play on a C5 at home, and I love it. But it does sound a lot different than this as far as the tone, I think. I think this one will have, because it's a baby grand, it's going to be a little bit less variance within like the dynamic range, but it's still so easy to play that I feel like you can kind of, it's easier to kind of get the dynamics you want out of this than other baby grands that I played before.
I just thought of a question while you were answering. Have you ever played with an orchestra before, or quartet?
Sadly, no.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah, I haven't. No.
Okay, we need to do that coming up soon. We need to get you involved in a chamber thing.
Please.
Or a symphony orchestra.
Yeah.
Have you tried any of the music -1? I mean, have you learned a piano concerto that has an orchestra and play along with a recording of the orchestra?
So, okay, I started learning a concerto a couple years ago, and I didn't get through the whole thing, but I would play like with the recording sometimes, and that was pretty fun.
Okay, how did you feel like with, I guess, the first time you play with other things, like other musicians, whether it's an orchestra or something, you kind of get the feel for, particularly choir. I'm sure you've played backup for chorus and choir before.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
You got to get everybody, in sync. The thing that I'm asking about is that Kawai pianos seem to have a bigger, rounder, darker tone. So in that environment of playing with other musicians, I've heard from a number of jazz musicians that they prefer a brighter tone that cuts through, something that is not so fully rounded and heavier in the bottom and the mid bass. For that reason, I think a lot of jazz pianists don't go to Kawais. Okay, that's one of because I think that Kawai, it just might take. They have a more classical sounding piano than a Yamaha, but there's nothing wrong with either one of them. But I think from a recording artist standpoint and from a musician, that brighter sound, if you're with other musicians, everyone just likes it because it cuts through. But then sometimes I think I have so many piano recordings that are solo piano where they used a Yamaha grand or a Steinway grand and they just sound different. Now also, bear in mind some of the techniques that we've recorded, we use that little shower bar thing. Earthworks, I think we have the 3 or 4, whatever one it is. But it's funny that you mentioned on the action. Do you notice the action is still supposed to work like the others, but it just seems kind of like not as quick?
Yeah, exactly. Like when I would and I don't know like the technical term, but whenever you play a key and it comes up, that feels a little bit different on this one than it does on the SKs.
Okay, so
but you can tell you're kind of dealing with like the same action, like you were saying.
Okay. Yeah. So did you play like a really fast piece, like Clementi or Spinoza? So
yeah, I was playing a Beethoven variations on a theme.
Why don't we listen to that? Let's have a listen and see. Come back and get your analysis, and I'll try to be quiet again. I want you to talk. You know, I mean, just talk about what you played and what your overall thoughts are in the action.
Yeah, sure. So I played C minor variations on a theme by Beethoven. He wrote a lot of them. Basically, he just plays like I think it's 8 measures in the beginning where it's just a melody, and then the rest of the song, just like 12 or 13 minutes, he just keeps doing variation after variation, making it crazier and crazier. Something I like about Beethoven is how he's kind of this bridge between the classical period and the romantic period. So you kind of see in the piece how he gets kind of more and more pedal usage, and you know how it goes, like the descending octaves in the end with that diminished arpeggio. Mm-hmm. That'd be crazy if like Mozart were to write that. But Beethoven, he's kind of bridging this gap, which it's cool to play it on like a piano from today, right? Because that's kind of what he needed, you know? He needed a piano from today.
They all needed better gear.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, it's funny because a lot of the pianists that come in, and I've met a couple that really focus their careers on period vintage instruments. And so they know that these pianos from this time period to this time period, they play and perform differently.
Right.
And I don't know if you've played a lot of historic pianos, but the first thing that comes in mind when you play them is like, what a clunk.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, I've seen these artists and heard them play on this thing, and they just fall in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, what a clunk. But they go, oh, this was the best sounding piano at its
Yeah.
time, and they'll go off and play on it. It's like, wow.
Mm.
Have you played on anything like that?
I don't remember playing on a super historic piano, but it seems like the composers from that time, they were forcing newer, more updated pianos to be released, right? Like Beethoven, Liszt, these guys who were super amazing performers and could like destroy pianos otherwise.
No, it's interesting because you played the variation. Have you gone and looked at some of the variations, like the one that you played, and looked at the source of what he says it's a variation of?
So some of them actually, I remember Mozart has a variation on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Mm-hmm.
I played that. I think one of them it's like the national anthem of England or something at
he's
the
got
time.
23 of them or 25.
I don't remember.
I have that music around here with all
Yeah.
the variations in
Yeah.
for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. But what amazes me is that some of the variations that the classical artists or even like Chopin or Liszt would do a take on something, it's almost like they have the chordal structure of the overall piece, and they're determined to play everything except that piece in that same chordal structure.
Yeah.
And then if they do it once or twice, where it's like, that's actually a better idea than a piece. So they kind of keep that over there, and then they end up making 5 or 6 variations. But when you look down and you look at the theory of the chord changes, it's like, other than 1 or 2 modulations in between,
Yeah.
this guy's just enjoying the liberty of making up stuff with
Yeah.
something he already knows. Because that's the hardest part about improv.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can make certain things, but where do you go after a while? You
Right.
get bored. You go up a half step, you go down a half step, up a fourth, or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of that creativity, I personally think, like most pianists that are even performers that don't compose and write, that creativity comes out of the instrument. It comes out of, you can get real superstitious. It comes out of the tree. It comes out of the lumbering, all the humans that touch everything, and everyone leaves their mark on that piano, and it ends up in the artist's hands with all this great mojo in it. I've actually had very accomplished, serious pianists tell me some really strange things about the vibes of a piano.
Interesting.
Have you picked up any of those stories?
I don't think so, but I'll keep my ears open for that.
Did I point out Russell Sherman's piano book to you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you get a copy? Have you read it?
Not yet.
Have you talked to Ken about it yet?
I haven't even seen him for a while.
Okay.
In a while, but I have a lot of books in my schedule to read right now. But I'll see if I
Super.
can get it.
Well, my list is long. I thought it was doing okay with my reading list, and then I came across something about a year ago. It was Herbie Hancock's recommended top 10 or 20 reads. And I thought, you know what, this is pretty intimidating. I better read these before I catch up on anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's geared toward what moves him. And to me, I think he's just a great, innovative, creative keyboard player, great musician, composer. And I love when he sits down at an acoustic piano. There's not tons and tons and tons of recordings compared to everything else that he's done. But at the same time, when you get an artist on a solo piano, you get so much closer to what their musical drive is and their
For
vision.
sure. Yeah.
Any last words you have on the Kawai GL-20?
It was fun to play. I would play it more. I might play it more after we finish recording.
Okay, super deal.
Yeah.
We will look for you next time. It's been a wonderful pleasure having an insight from Daniel Voeller. We hope to see you. We're having you back in another video, right? Bunches of
Hope
them.
so.
This is Ted Barshley with Alamo Piano Galleries. We look for you next time, and place your comments and views. If you have a GL-20 or any GL or SK or GX series, let us know what your thoughts are on Kawai pianos. We'll look for you next time.